Welcome to Taboola Talks, where we continue to speak with leaders whose journeys inspire us and help us overcome obstacles and unlock our potential. My guest today is one of the most respected leaders at Taboola, whose journey is filled with such anecdotes that one can't be faulted for thinking that we are speaking of a celebrated sports person and not just a business leader. Harel, given the various things that you have done and continue to do, it was actually a bit challenging for me to decide where to start from. So I have a deal for you. If you promise me a 50% hike, I'll stick to the easy questions.
Take the challenging route, Shashank, as we like.
Damn, as much as I like that, I don't like the other part, which is not getting the 50% hike. So I'll now stick to the script that I have with the questions that I have prepared. So thank you, Harold, for doing this. And where do I start from? I think let's start from the very beginning, a good place to start, as it was said in Sound of Music. So reflecting back, Harold, how do you think, in a sense, your early life or student experiences have influenced your professional life or your approach to work?
First, thank you, Shashank, for inviting me and taking all the effort to lead that for the last 2 years. I think that this is a very interesting approach to go and listen and learn from others' experiences. So
Absolutely.
studying, I mean, when you mean from university, undergraduate, or when I was younger?
Probably younger, when probably you were in your teens.
I surprisingly, I like school. I mean, I like to learn. It was very interesting to go with my friends and try to learn more and more and more. I can remember when I was younger, I was fascinated by a book that we're all familiar with. Usually, we do not read as a reading book or a novel, but more on some of the classes when we are younger, and it is the Bible, the old Bible. And I was fascinated about that because this is a very interesting story, and there are elements there that at least the people that try to explain about the Bible is that there is no future, present, and past, and you can find different aspects that may be reported, or the story is later on in the book or in the Bible, but they actually happened before. And I was fascinated about the different elements that is required, and there is a very nice competition in Israeli Independence Day. And during this competition, there is a competition about the Bible. And I remember when I was sitting with my grandfather and my grandmother every Independence Day together in the house, and we were watching that. There was one channel in Israel, and back then, when you had a big TV, color TV, it was very interesting to see. And I remember that I was sitting there when I was young. And when I become a bit older, like 15 years old, I said to myself, okay, let me try this competition. So I read a book. And every step along the way, they're giving you some focus stories or focus chapters for this book. So I read the focus chapter, and I failed. And I won the class or the school, and then I failed. And I felt one of my first failures at school ever. And it was interesting because I could say, it's a book. I will continue to sit with my grandparents and watch this competition every Independence Day and eat good food in parallel, because it's like a very long ceremony. Or I can try again. And I decided to try again, but to try harder. So they gave a different focus chapter. And I learned for a couple of months, and I progressed along the competition. And it was very interesting for me, the experience, because you are meeting people from different cities and people from different regions, and then people that are Orthodox and non-Orthodox, and you are progressing along the line. And I was half a point from the international Bible context
Wow.
back then. And it was very, very interesting. But I think that it captured the element in my characteristic of competition as a positive competition, and how I deal with failures and try to overcome that the next step.
Well, all of this when you were what, 15 years old?
15, 16.
All right. So school happened, 15, 16, you did this, and then I'm assuming college. So anything interesting from your college days that you would like to share?
So I like to study. Unfortunately, since I got into more focus on the career and managing teams, so I have less time to formal study in the university. But I did my undergraduate in engineering, and then I have 2 master degrees in 2 different universities, and 1 semester I did in US in Philadelphia. But the whole the whole idea of studying for me after the undergraduate is to study things that are interesting, but also helping me to deal with a problem or an aspiration that I want to achieve or to overcome. And doing those studies, I had to meet very good friends and meet very smart people, and to take yourself from the comfort zone or things that you do not really know. I also, and in the first master degree, I said, okay, I want to develop my business acumen. So I studied an MBA, and then I wanted to do that internationally. So I went to do a few courses as part of the MBA in Temple University when we presented some of the entrepreneurship plan as part of the MBA. It was to build the business acumen because I wanted to be a business manager. Then when I became a business manager, I said, well, the only thing that I do, or the most of the things that I do, I try to resolve conflicts. And the conflicts can be, this is not what we saw, what we bought. It's not delivering the value that I'm asking that it will deliver. It's not coming on time. We expected throughput that was different. We are expecting different accuracy. We would like to get a different calibration phase. There's different aspects of objection that you need to manage, but on the element of it, or the basic of it, is try to build tools and to build capabilities that will go through how to manage those conflicts and how to try to create a win-win situation as part of that. And what is the interest of the person that is complaining, and you need to be happy because this is part of the way to make business back then. And to do that in China or in Singapore or in South Korea or in Taiwan, those are all different aspects that get extreme of the cultural differences or your understanding on what is behind that. It might be that he do not want, or she do not want to lose face from by her manager, or that there is a very tight project that you are not even aware that is influenced by the tool that you just sold and they bought and not delivering what they expected to deliver as part of the demo. So I went to study conflict resolution, and it was very, very interesting master degree to collaborate with different tools and try to take that into conflict resolution and mediation as part of tools that will help me to do my job better as part of my responsibility back then.
Why a business manager? I mean, you could have chosen to be a coder, you could have chosen to get into something else, medicine. I mean, why this fascination with being a business manager?
So I didn't start in this way. I started in an operational team that was supporting and manufacturing a very high complex engineering tool in the semiconductor industry. When I was sitting in my cubicle and trying to design something, I remember that, and I will never forget this specific image in my mind. I saw someone from the company walking with a suit with 6 people from Asia side to him, and he was explaining things and moved to a room. And it was a bit strange for me after I didn't visit Asia before, and I knew that this is the biggest market for the company back then, and this is where semiconductors are being manufactured globally. And I asked my cubicle colleague that was 10 years older than me, I said, what's going on over there? And he told me, go back to your design, you will never get into those rooms and meetings. And again, triggering my competition element, I said, okay, let me figure it out myself. And I understood that he was a regional business manager for the whole APAC, and there was a demo for a client from South Korea. And he came to present the demo results in order to create evaluation for the new review team that was manufacturing in this company. And I said, okay, but what is this profile? Am I being eligible to do that? And I understood that in order to do that, you need to be either master in physics or PhD in mathematics. And I had no intention to go back and study those. And I said, okay, but most likely they need a way to find a way. And in my department, overall division, it was not connected to the business division. It's a totally different division that managed the business on the application level and in the business level. So I opened a basketball team. And during this basketball team that I was not a bad player, I was okay. So during this basketball team, I invited many people from the company. And then I found those application engineers that are doing all those demos. So I told them that I will pass them the ball and give some assist, and they will score and play if they will teach me about what they do. And so it happened, and they teach me after time, after school or after work, and then they off hours, and then even they allocate to me the ability to do a demo. It was Saturday between 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. No
Wow.
one actually wanted this time slot, obviously. And I was coming there and studying. And then there was an open position, and I met this person in the corridor, and I told him, Mr. Shammai, I want to apply. And he looked at me and said, Harel, I know you, but how is that even related to what you do here? So I said, give me a try. No, someone gave you a try when you are, give you this opportunity when you were younger, right? He said, okay, let's do that. And he interviewed me, and then he said, okay, if you know something, go and figure this out. And he gave me a wafer, which is a semiconductor wafer that you need to find and find defects and try to create the images out of those defects that influence the process of the semiconductor and bugs in the semiconductor process as part of the transistor manufacturing. So I said, okay, I will do that. And after 48 hours, I came back with the demo report. And then he looked at me and said, you are here again. Okay, let's see what it's been. So he asked the technical person in his team to come, and the technical account manager, and they look at that and they said, it's not a bad start. So then we opened the conversation, and he's the one that gave me the real opportunity to do something different out of the comfort zone. And I literally started almost half a year of onboarding before I was even got the privilege to talk to a client. I could only listen, or some of the times I could not even join a video conference because they didn't want to see anyone that cannot contribute to this discussion on those calls. And I will never forget this opportunity. And still, this regional business manager that now is managing a totally different business as a sales VP sales in a security company, he's still a very good friend of mine. And he's coming to have dinners with my family every second Sunday for the at least last 10 years. So it
Wow.
is very good friendship that we build that started with this demo and this image that I got in my mind of him taking clients to a meeting in the same building that I was sitting.
Wow. So there are two things that happened. One is thanks to your ex-colleague who challenged you and told you that you can't do it, because of which you actually ended up doing it. And in the process, you also seem like actually found a great mentor and a friend in Mr. Shamir. So I think that sounds wonderful. So Harel, while you were doing all these things and then you moved on to other roles, so on and so forth, how did Taboola happen?
So as I hope that you understand, I like to study and move myself from the comfort zone, but it also need to be in a linkage to what you aspire to do and where you want to find your career. So you cannot come and doing, in my point of view, you cannot do being an accountant and then become VP R&D without doing something in the middle and trying to contribute into that. So my linkage was always the connection between business, technology, and operations. And on top of that, I moved between different positions and different companies. And the industry is, in my opinion, less important, but the competency and capabilities and experiences are building the ability to deal with different use cases. And I moved between semiconductors to printing, to application in printing, to contact center, SaaS, enterprise software, to ATEC. And those are different businesses, but the uniqueness of all of them that have a very big transformational element in the technology that they are representing. There is a very complicated technology in the base of that, and there is good leadership that is driving this organization forward into success with a vision and with a mission. And there are clients that are healthy business clients that would like to contribute to this business and the company. And this is how back then there was a change in professional services, and they asked the VP of R&D Supply, Yochai, to lead support team in for Taboola. Back then it was built a bit differently, and it was and Yochai approached me as part of a connection of a mutual colleague that used to work in Taboola, but also used to work in my previous company, and said, okay, I want to meet you and learn more about the support and how you deal with that. I'm from the R&D, I have no clue on even how to start, but this is what Taboola asked me to do, and I will do that. And only that triggered my attention, because I didn't see and I didn't know many senior R&D leaders that will go to this washing machine of support of dealing in very intensive organization in order to fix issues and deal with all the issues that no one else could fix in the past,
Mhm.
and then to contribute to the quality and the success of the organization. So we met again. Then I met a few other people, and eventually I am privileged to get the opportunity to join the Taboola under Eldad as a VP of Professional Services, and since then working closely with almost the same leadership team to try and all the time improve the customer centricity and services that we are providing for our external clients and internal clients.
Sure. So you mentioned about the challenging aspects of customer support, and uh, you in fact used a very nice term, washing machine, to kind of fix all of these things. Now, the question that triggers in my mind is, given that you, at least for the last 4.5 years, you've been managing two of the largest organizations within Taboola. How are you able to manage between covering a wide spectrum and also have a very in-depth understanding of those?
I think first I'm covering a very, very small amount. Just try to imagine how much Ran and Lior and Eldad are managing and inspiring others of I think every different meeting that they have is on a different topic, which has need to have a very different context changes every single meeting. But I mean, what I found at least effective for me is the ability to build a very strong organization and as leadership team to understand together what is the plan and act respectively. When there is a specific issue, to do a very strong deep dive and do not leave that until you really understand what does it mean, but all the time have a cadence of understanding high level view where you are upon your goals. So it's always a balance to understand where you are upon your goals, and when there is an issue, to do deep dive, to go and understand that and go again into a high level view and deep dive when you need. But this is a cadence that you need to do, and this should be based on a lot of data and reporting and understanding more and more level of granularity on how to look on what you manage. If it's a sales funnel, client base span, or the overall queue for tier two in the publishers support organization as a whole.
Sure. Now, you mentioned a couple of things. You spoke about the balance. You spoke about uh, getting deep into it, especially when it's a specific issue that demands you to actually kind of get into those things. Now, on the back of this, how do you actually maintain this balance, especially with allocating your time? Because it's not just about two different organizations, it's also about balancing between meeting the current goals, current targets, and also driving strategies, keeping the future vision in mind. So, how do you strike that balance?
A lot, a lot of planning, and try to be as analytical as possible, other than only to understand the story around that. And I do not think that I'm doing that as good as I'm expecting myself to do that. And I think that this is indeed a very big spread for different topics.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that again, when I look on the essence of what does it mean, trusting your leadership team, building a strong leadership team is a key. And if it is not the situation, to manage that effectively, because those are, I mean, in my opinion, the domains that right now under my organization are very important for Taboola success, and we cannot afford that each and every one of them will not get the right focus and attention that they need. And to find this operational mechanism is very, very important. And the operational mechanism always look on what is the output that you're expecting from the organization, what is the tool that measure the output that you can optimize, and what are the bare minimum input that you need to drive those outputs. And if you think that all the time in your mind and said, okay, what do I want to achieve? Or what is the tool to measure this achievement that I can all the time optimize and optimize and optimize and optimize? And do we have the right inputs to feed this? That I'm not now investing a lot of time to generate that, but collect that automatically into a tool that provide you the right flexibility, sensitivity, alerts, and trends to have a Six Sigma model, and then to measure this output is helping to understand when there are abnormals, when there are different aspects of that. It's sometimes when the issue is too complex, you need to separate that for different things, but it can provide a very good direction on how to deal with complex operations.
Sure. Now, if this had to be applied, let's say, to an account manager, someone who works in the support team. What do you think? Again, this is building on the answer that you just gave. What do you think would be those key pillars of your daily routine that actually allows you to do this? How do you, in essence, kind of prioritize? How do you manage it? If you could just give me one example, basis which everyone listening to this conversation, regardless of whether they are an individual contributor, a team lead, what can they take away from it?
So we all learned few methodologies that we are getting more connected to them or less connected to them, but we're all familiar with different methodologies that is helping us to be better in what we do. And being an expert is not easy at all. To drive to expertise is also not easy and different. But answering this element, I think that the model that I like very much is a model that is called 7 Habits of Most Effective People.
Mhm.
And those 7 habits of most effective people giving you some tools in how to look and how to behave to understand that better. So if I mean, anyone, regardless of what role you are doing, to do first thing first will help you to prioritize. To seek to understand before understood will help you to understand what is the ecosystem and what kind of dependencies you create or dependencies that you have in order to understand that and the person or the department that is in front of you. Or sharpening the saw will create a continuous improvement plan. Those are all different habits that if you always think about that will help you or might give you some structure for those that like the structure to continuously improve.
Sure, sure. Harel, lastly, in this segment, what is that one thing? Because you mentioned about this that you feel that you are probably that's also because you set such high benchmarks for yourself that you say, and I think that's also because there's a lot of humility over there when you say, okay, fine, I'm still trying to do a lot better than what I am. But what do you think is that one thing that you are trying to get better at as a leader? What do you think would that be?
I would say that it's not one element. We just completed um, a survey that called Strength Finder by Gallup.
Hmm, hmm.
I recommend people that are now thinking about their career go to take this survey. It's a paid survey that the basic element you are answering for 30 minutes, multiple
Hmm,
questions
hmm.
uh, about what is your perception upon different statements,
Hmm, hmm.
and you are getting your strength out of a
Hmm,
list of 30 strengths. It's not
hmm.
good or bad. There is no good or bad strength. They are not. It's about who you are and what is the way that you behave and what are
Sure.
your strengths around that. So I at least, and also I was very surprised to see that it is changing. So the first time that I did it was I think 12 years ago, and I have few strengths. I think that I'm very different than what I was 12 years ago, and hopefully evolving. And this time I got totally different strengths. The
Sure.
top 5 that I had before, other than 1 or 2, were different, and
Sure.
definitely the top 1 was different. So when I look at those top 5, let's say the first 3 were linked to um, strategic, uh, strong or strategic competencies about analytical achiever that are very relevant, I think, to what is required from output-driven organization.
Sure. All right. At this point, Harold, we're gonna move into a segment. It's a rapid fire round. Again, the intent of this round is to somehow try and understand you as a person a lot better. So you're not allowed to think a lot. I know you are a thinker, you are an analytical person, but in this case, a question comes up and then you answer it in 2 sentences or less. Don't take a lot of time. So here's the first question coming your way. If you could have dinner with any business leader, who would it be and why?
At this point, I would do that with Benjamin Netanyahu to really understand why he thinks right now about what he thinks. Not that he would have tell me, but it would be a different, a unique opportunity at this point.
Okay, okay. If you could live anywhere in the world for 1 year, where would you choose and why?
There is a place that you know that's called Thailand.
Fantastic. Please come. Please come. Please come and spend a year with us. It will be great.
Yes, and
All
why?
right.
I really
Yeah,
like.
why?
I like the people. I like the food. I like the even I like the smell of everything in the street. It is and I've been there so many times, so I feel that I know what when I'm coming. I know what to expect.
Fantastic. What's the most memorable gift you have ever received?
I have two kids. One daughter that is my oldest, and we share the same birthday. Different ages, same birthday. So she came to me, I think around a year ago, and she told me if I can help her and promise to keep something and not open it. And I said, yes. What is that? So she told me, and she was 10 years old. She told me that she wrote a letter to herself when she will become a mother that she want to read. And she knows that if she will give that to me, there is an option that I will actually keep it. And if it would be only her, it would be maybe missed. So I told her, can you read me what you were telling to yourself? And she was so honest and so direct about her expectations and what she observed, that it was very, let's say, it was mesmerizing experience. So definitely I keep that, and I keep that to, hopefully I will give that to her when she will become a mother. But it was very
Wow.
nice to see someone that is connected to you, that is part of your family, doing something to herself 20 years or 15 years or whatever it will take to do that.
Wow, that's such a sweet story, Harel. Uh, Moving on to the next one. If you could have any celebrity as your friend, who would you choose? You're not allowed to say Benjamin Netanyahu, that's already done, so someone else.
I always look at Michael Jordan as wow when I was trying to be a basketball player. I think that he represents, like when I mentioned about being an expert, I think that he is the greatest at all time. Um, and it should not, I don't know if a friend, because friendship, in my opinion, you need to build your own experiences. And I'm not sure that I have built experiences with Michael Jordan.
Sure, sure.
But definitely to spend time with him would be a kind of a tick box on my
I'm sure,
youngest memories
sure.
or dreams.
By the way, I think at this point I should also mention for those who will be listening this, when Harel mentioned he was okay at basketball, he played for the Israeli national team, and he was
On
coached.
on the youngest. I mean, it's not in for the adults, for the 16, 17 years old.
Fair enough, age group under 16, under 17 basketball team, which again is no mean achievement. And then his coach back then went on to coach one of the greatest to have played this game. Maybe Harel, if you want to give the name away.
Yeah, his name is David Blatt. He used to coach the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James, a couple of years ago.
Fantastic. So common coach, LeBron James, Harel, common coach. So it's fantastic. All right. So what's the weirdest thing that you have on your bucket list?
I don't know if it's weird, but I never do a skydiving. Might be interesting to do a skydiving.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind the next time we travel to Dubai. We'll do. It will actually be fun to finally see you totally out of your comfort zone. I think that's going to be on our list. The next time we go to Dubai, it's going to be definitely that. All right. What's your favorite way to unwind after work?
To be with my kids at dinner. I'm sometimes quite a lot missing that and not do that, but this is the best time of the day. To have dinner with them, to put everything aside, to laugh, to understand what they did, what they want to do. It's the best relaxation that I can imagine. Not anything else, not good food, not good drink, but this time.
100%. I can totally relate to that. Since you mentioned drink, what's your favorite whiskey, the best whiskey that you've ever had?
The best whiskey. I used to be let's say some good experience with whiskey, and went for different lectures about whiskey and build a blue label myself with different ingredients of whiskey. but I think that I was very surprised to drink whiskey in Japan. I know that you told me to buy an Indian whiskey, and I have this name, but to drink whiskey in Japan 10 years ago, that it was not so famous as it is today, and to understand the differences between that versus Irish or Scottish or American, it's very different.
Sure. I'm going to use this opportunity to drum up some business for this Indian brand called Rampur. So people who are listening to this, trust me, 5 years back, I would have never in wildest of my dreams thought that I would ever be advocating or selling an Indian whiskey. But trust me on this, try Rampur. I think it's called Tiguan, single malt, one of the best whiskeys that you'll ever have. All right, so moving on from this question to the last question in this segment. Harel, what is the one thing that you wish you had in your 30s?
You see, I need to think. I actually
You
think
had
that
everything.
no, not that I had everything. I do not expect to have everything. I don't think it's a good habit. But I actually enjoying my 40s more than I enjoyed my 30s. So I can say that I had more hair in the 30s, so I would lose less in my 40s.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Harel, for answering all these. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you and speaking with you in this